Y'all didn't get one on this road? Okay. Do you mind sharing? Okay, now that's fine. Thank you so much. Well, good morning, ladies, and thank you so much for coming to this session. Ringmaster, work life, and keeping it all together. Your speaker this morning will be none other than Jennifer Folsom. Jennifer is the Vice President of Reba Solutions, Inc. She is a friend, a wife. She is a mom of 3 sons. Her headquarters is in Washington, D.C. She's an amateur farm-to-table chef, a runner, a reader, and a writer. She loves her work, but knows that living your whole best life is the ultimate key to success. She is the author of the upcoming book, Ringmaster, which comes out in January 2020. And it's a practical guide to modern working mothers. Once again, Jennifer Folsom.
Thank you, everyone. I am so excited to be here this morning. I am, like a normal Halloween hangover morning. Got all the boys out of the house, dragged them there. Then we hit 95 South to drive on down. But I am so excited to be here. And thank you to my husband, Ben Folsom, in the back, who's doing my AV and driving me here and making sure I have everything I need. And my good friend, Robin McDougall, for inviting me. She's told me about this conference for so long, and I'm so delighted to be here this morning. And so before we get started, I wanted to get to sort of a sense of the room for where we are in our caregiving lives, because we're women and we're natural caregivers. It's why we're here today. Who here has children under the age of 18 living at home? Oh, that's a lot of you. I got 3 of those myself. Who is caregiving for parents who need extra support? Anyone doing both? Yeah, sandwich generations, good times, isn't it? It's really exciting. Who thinks they may be in a position to be caregiving in the next 5 years? Yep, exactly. Whether it's your parents, your kids. So we're here today to talk about that entire world of ours, right? Where we're all chasing after this very elusive work-life balance. We're killing it every day at work. We're here to talk about all the things that we do from a leadership perspective, the work we do in our communities, but at the end of the day, we also have this giant second shift of caregiving responsibilities, and it's massive, it's really huge. And the big idea here, and what I can tell you after caregiving for my parents, nearly 2 decades of being a mom and working the whole time in a pretty intense kind of career, is that there is no work-life balance. Like, it just doesn't exist, right? If you're working and you're caregiving, your life is a circus, right? It is a circus, but the big idea here is that you can be the ringmaster of your circus. You're in charge of your circus. So there is no one solution here. The idea here is that you are the ringmaster of 3 rings: work, life, and you. You decide when and where that spotlight shines. And that spotlight might change a little bit, different places, day to day, hour to hour, week to week. And so every time I went to look at books on the shelf and think, okay, how do I get through this next phase? Like, colic or pumping at work, or it's all for those first couple of years of having babies. And I'm here to tell you, it does not get easier. Like, I hate to tell you that. There's always these different seasons and different challenges and needs. So what I want to do here today is have a real interactive session to talk a little bit about how we can work together, share solutions, and give you some of the pro tips, things that I've learned from experts in the field, things that I've learned, and that hopefully we can share with one another. And so I'll tell you a little about me to get started. So you heard in the bio, I'm about ready to start a really exciting new job as Vice President at Reba Solutions, a very fast-growing management consulting firm that unfortunately is headquartered in Tyson's Corner. So I'm going to be one of those car commuters on the Beltway again after a life on Metro. But that's my day job, right? And it's a pretty exciting role. But my bigger job is my second shift, right? So I'm the mom of 3 boys. I have 17-year-old twins, and no, I have no idea what they're doing next year. So don't ask me and don't ask them. I'm thinking gap year, who needs a little bit more time to become a little more self-sufficient. And I also have a 12-year-old who keeps us all in stitches. I'm married, and I'm a writer, and I wrote this book, and I love to read and farm and my vegetable garden and cook the vegetables and paddleboard and drink bourbon. So it's really the whole best life, right? So these are all the things about me. And what I say that for you because I think how we define ourselves really is about our job. Are we moms? Are we daughters? But it's so much more, right? And so the Ringmaster framework is really about helping you to achieve how to have all the things that you want in your life. And so why did I write this book? probably 4 years. Because between my day job and my second shift, there's literally no time. I already get up at 4:40 in the morning. But quite honestly, there was no creative space left, right? I knew I had this body of knowledge that I wanted to impart and a movement I wanted to start about taking back control over our lives and our work and how we approach it. And I'll talk about it towards the end here, but I had to take a sabbatical to write this book. It was not going to happen when I'm doing voice to text on Google Docs on the metro in the morning. Like, that just wasn't happening. So I wrote this book that I hope can be helpful to anyone on the struggle bus, because we're all on it, right? Like, it is not easy. And what I wanted to find were community and solutions. So I looked around and I see all of these women who are just killing themselves every day. They're sitting at work and they're gnashing their teeth that they can't be doing mystery reader for their second grade classroom. They're home with a sick kid and really upset with themselves that they're let their colleagues down. What do? Your kid has an ear infection, can't go to daycare. Like, that's just where we are today. So I really saw this and I thought, we're not all alone. We're all really doing this together. And one of the things I struggled with in writing this book is I certainly don't have all the answers, right? Like, every day there's a new and different disaster or drama for me. Whether it's with my children or at work, like, I am dropping all kinds of balls in this juggling act. But what I did see was that there are a lot of experts out there, maybe experts in this room, either in their particular line of work or one aspect of their life that they figured out. Like, for me, like, I have boys. Who here has boys? Like, they eat so much, right? Your life revolves around food. So it's very important for me to have good, healthy meals. So, like, getting dinner on the table every night and sitting down together, that's one thing I figured out. Like, most other things I haven't. So that's a thing that I can share with the crowd. But what I'm hoping to do is go through each of the sections today, and then we can talk a little bit about it. If anyone has anything to offer, just interrupt me. I love doing small group sessions like this because it can be super interactive and we can learn from one another. And so we're gonna start with work, right? Because of the 3 rings, this is the least squishy. Like, we're talking about life, we're talking about you, that's the hard stuff, right? Work, that's a good place to start, right? It's got some hard boundaries around it. So today, you'll each have a handout here, and if you don't have enough, we can share. This is certainly not a fancy graphic, you can sketch it yourself. What I think I see a lot of women struggle with is they believe that there's a direct correlation between money and flexibility. And honestly, flexibility is the thing that you need. It's not the hours, not the kind of work. It's just, let me do me. Let me work 7 to 4. Let me work 10 to 6. My elementary school doesn't start till 9:15. I mean, are you kidding me? So, okay. You just need a little bit of flexibility, but there isn't a direct trade-off between flexibility and dollars. And I do a lot of work around pay equity, pay gaps for women, and I think that this is part of it, right? We just assume, well, if I'm gonna ask if I can leave at 3 o'clock on Fridays so I can get my kid to cheer practice, then I need to take less money, and that's just not the case, right? It's so much more complex than that. So we're gonna talk a little bit about this. But the idea here is that there's a work-life triangle. On one side, there's flexibility, you need compensation, and then the role that you're doing, the content. And it's never this pretty equilateral triangle, right? And I just retook geometry in 10th grade with my twins, so I remember all the triangle names now. This is really the only geometry I've used since then, taking it myself. But you can imagine, and what I want you to do is take a moment or here and think about the perfect job for you. What is your dream job? What are you doing? What's your title? Okay? How are you doing that job? How many hours a week are you working? Are you 100% telecommuting because you need to be there? Your mom's living with you and your fridge is gonna fall during the day? Or is it just like, I just need to be able to do me. Like, if I need to bump out for mystery reader for an hour, I don't want anyone looking at me sideways. So what is the flexibility that I need? And then what is a reasonable compensation for that? And I want you to value yourself, right? Don't discount yourself. You're still bringing all the value to the table. So take a moment here, and I'll give you some quiet. Take out a pen, if you can. Think about what the ideal triangle looks like for you. What does the ideal triangle look for you today? Just today. Yes?
You said the role, so it's the role you want to have or the role you currently have?
No, you can do dream role, whatever it is, whatever you want to be doing. are, just think about it roughly. You can even use percentages on like, I need to be making 20% more than I'm making now. If you're not looking at things like Glassdoor, salary.com, or payscale.com, you should be. That's how you find out the real juice. So write those down if you're not really sure what you should be making. And now take a moment and think about which side of that triangle is most important to you today. Make a big X on that one. That is the predominant driving factor for you. So you might have just gotten divorced, or maybe you have twins going to college in the near future. Compensation might be your most important thing. And that's okay. Like, I think a lot of women are a little uncomfortable with that. But like, I need to make money, and here's why. Or it may be content and role. Like, you know what, if I'm gonna leave this beautiful baby that I went through 5 years of IVF treatments to have, I gotta be really passionate about my work. It can't just be any old job. It's gotta be my dream job. I'm guessing for many of you, it's schedule and flexibility. That's what I hear overwhelmingly. I just need a little more flexibility. Just trust me to do my job. It's not always the case, but that might be the case. And I think that what we need to do is acknowledge that this equilateral triangle, it doesn't exist. And even if it did, it didn't matter. Because what you need tomorrow, what you need next week, next month, next year, is gonna change, right? And so this triangle, as you're thinking about your job and your career and where you wanna be next year, next month, it's helpful to think about this framework, right? There's a trade-off on all three of these angles. And sometimes it's gonna be isosceles, sometimes it's gonna be acute. It's not gonna be equilateral. And that's okay, they all fit together. And then if you're thinking about making a change, because I'm in this job now, but that's not the job I want, there is a job search template that I've created that is all about using your very limited free time, because I know you don't have much of it, extremely efficiently. So if you go to the website here, you can download it. I'll kind of walk through what the spreadsheet looks like, because it's impossible to see on the screen. But it's meant to be a download, just it's on the resources on the website. You can also sign up for email alerts if you want to hear more about blog topics and the book coming up. But the idea here is you want to focus your search, right? What you don't need to be doing is going home and after cleaning the kitchen and putting the kids to bed and checking off homework, applying to jobs online and to resume black holes. That is just not an efficient use of your time, right? So the strategy here is you identify target organizations. These are places I want to work. I've heard they have great culture. There is a nonprofit whose mission I'm so passionate about. I would do it for free, but I need to get paid. It could be, there's this mom at the bus stop in heels and lipstick every day at 3:30, and she works at Capital One. I don't know how she does it, but if she's doing it, then I can do it, right? I'm just looking around, and in my world, I see that that exists. So I want to work there. And then the next tab is job, families, and roles. And so I want you to think a little bit more broadly about job families. And if you've been in your same job for 5 or 10 years, the titles of those jobs may have changed. The jobs might have changed. So think a little bit more broadly, like I'm a marketing coordinator now, but do I want to be a content marketing manager? Is there another angle that I want? And so just list all the job families and roles. So I know where I want to work, I know what kind of work I want to do. And then the last tab is probably the most important, and that's professional contacts. So this is not your entire body of LinkedIn contacts. It's maybe your top 15 or 20 of people you know who know your work, who value you, who know what you can do, people you know who are influencers in your industry and in your career, right? What this helps you figure out is just that narrowed search, but it also helps you figure out where you got some holes. So if you know that you want to be doing development at a nonprofit you're completely passionate about, and you don't have anyone in your network who works at that nonprofit or who works in fundraising, then you gotta go build out your network there, right? You're never gonna get that job applying to resume black holes. It has to come through a connection. And even more important for caregivers, it's because the only way you get the flexibility you want and need is that someone's vouching for you. Someone knows you. Someone knows your work. You're not starting over from scratch. So go to the website, we have a minute, download that little Excel spreadsheet, and then think about how that can focus your time. And so again, every section we're gonna give you a couple pro tips. This is just what I've seen work in my life, in my career, and among the experts I interviewed for this book. And the number one thing here is mastering the coffee date. I mean, this is huge. It's 30 minutes, it's $10, not expensive. It gets you that FaceTime with people you need to know. So if you, back to that example we just talked about, if you realize that you don't know a single person who works at the American Red Cross and that's where you want to be a fundraiser, you gotta go find some people who work there. You gotta go to Facebook and say, who knows someone at American Red Cross local chapter? I really want to work there. Can you make an introduction? This is the most valuable FaceTime you can get. We don't have time for lunches. You're all working through lunch, I know you are. No one's taking a lunch break. It has to be regularly scheduled. So whether this is your professional contacts, those 10, 15, 20 people, you just want to meet with once a year. Put a calendar reminder. Reach out. Let's get coffee. We haven't caught up. I want to know what's going on in industry. What's going on with you? These are how you hear about all the sort of big ideas and opportunities. I found over the last 6 years, particularly when I was on the super grind at work and so busy before and after work with my children and my life, I let this part of my life lapse. And this is where opportunities come to die, right? If your professional network starts to wither, because we just don't have any time. There's no time. So in your day, whether it's on your way to work, you stop at the Starbucks in Short Pump, or you're downtown, these are where you're getting these coffee dates. And then the real thing that sets you apart, particularly people that aren't already in your network, if you've asked someone to make that introduction to you, for you, to that person at the American Red Cross, write an actual thank you note. Now this is something that I hammer into the college students that I speak to, my sons who can barely address an envelope and don't get me started. But an email that day is fine, but you taking the time to, write it on a bev map and put a stamp on it. People will be happy to see that you took the time and were so thoughtful. People's time is precious, right? This is how you honor that gratitude. And then my next pro tip is something that I really struggle with, particularly when I went back to work the first time when my twins were born, is you just have to do the job you were hired for. And this sounds so painfully obvious, right? You got hired to do a job, but I'm looking around here, and I know what Robin's told me about you. You're all-stars, right? You're women who walk into a job and are like, yeah, I can do that. I can do that. This hasn't been done in a year. Yeah, sure, I'll take that conference planning on. Yeah, I'll also plan the company picnic. And you're gonna do all the things. This is where we struggle. It is so hard to just do the job you were hired. But I think, frankly, that this is what the men are doing. They're not emptying the dishwasher in the office kitchen. They're not taking on all this emotional labor of making sure everybody in there and their team is happy. They're just doing their job and they're killing it and they're showing and communicating their results. So we're gonna talk a little bit about these relationships, but the number one relationship to determine your happiness, your trajectory, and your flexibility work is your boss. It does not matter what your corporate policy says on telecommuting, core hours, it's your boss. This is the person who controls your bonus, what time you leave in the evening, what time you need to show up in the morning, how many emails you're getting after 7 p.m. It's your boss. So you have to figure out how to help him or her make their job and their life easier. If your organization doesn't have public calendars, make sure you have access to your boss's calendar. Take a moment when you're setting up your next day. What does her schedule look like? What does she need? Can I just shoot her a few bullet points to say, hey, I know you got that meeting tomorrow at 9 o'clock. As you know, I won't be in until 9:30. I'm on drop-off duty that morning, but here's 5 things you need to know. Don't make her ask for it. Do it. This is the key to success. I think it's missed. It's overlooked so dramatically. All of these other relationships are important. That's the most important. And then it's the communicating results. So there's this notion about when you work with people. Has anyone heard this? The operator's manual to working with me. You heard about this? Oh, you're thinking that there's a zillion articles on it. I love it. When I'm starting a new job, like I'm going to start next week, I sit down with my new boss, my direct reports, my colleagues, and I literally have this. Here's an operator's manual to working with me. Here's how I like to be managed. Here's how I like to receive communications. How do you like to lead people? Do you want me to just pop into your office, or can you not stand interruptions, right? Do you prefer to have a daily email at the end of the day, like, here are the 5 things I accomplished, here's what's on deck for tomorrow. So know how that boss and the other key stakeholders in your life want to communicate, and communicate that way. Don't make them guess what you're doing. Communicate early and often so they know when you're working from home what you're doing. You never question. I had a very large team in my last role. Every time someone asked to work from home, come in late, the answer was always yes. I always knew what they were doing. in strategic relationships. This is a tough one for us. Because as women, we're natural connectors. We build relationships. It's what makes us excellent leaders. But internally, we cannot worry about every single relationship. We just can't. When I first went back to work, I was so worried about being like, oh, she's the mom of those newborn twins. She's never gonna be able to get to this happy hour at that event. There's this Seinfeld episode where Elaine Bennis says, when you work in corporate America, every day is someone's special day. When they're eating cake every day because it's someone's promotion or birthday or divorce party, I don't know. So you can't go to all of them. You have to figure out who's important in your in your internal organization. So obviously your boss. If you're in a leadership role, it's probably your assistant. And maybe a few key stakeholders who are influencers there. It might be Mary in accounting because you keep screwing up your invoices, and if you don't get it right, you're not gonna get promoted, right? Mary in invoicing is on your critical path. Mary in invoicing, go to her baby shower, right? That's the right person for you. So you just have to figure out exactly who those people are and let the rest go. Be unfailingly polite to everyone. Show up with good energy. Good morning, how was your day? You don't need to go to every event, every lunch, every bridal shower. You can't do it, you don't have the time. And then externally, it's the same thing. It really is. So on Americans on average are switching jobs about 3 to 8 years. Do you want to start over building your network every 3 to 8 years? No. So you got to figure out who those people are. And it doesn't have to be huge. But there's a handful of people, I know your brain's already kind of circulating, who's that in my life? Who do I need to be connecting with on a regular basis to know what my new opportunities are at this organization, in this industry? So before we go on to life, let's take a pause here. Is there anything that resonated with you? Any questions you have? Any big tips that you want to share? Yes?
So you made a comment where you said when people would come to you about working from home, but you knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
How did you know?
Because I've had these conversations about how I want to be communicated with,
Okay,
right?
so going
So
back
at the end of the day, right, and I would try and leave at a reasonable hour, just shoot me a text or an email about, hey, this is what I did today, here's where we are. If I know that, I don't need to go asking for it, right? Like I know they're productive. I see the work coming in. It's very proactive communication. And if my team is setting me up for my next day's success or next week's success, that's huge. I had this work wife, I want to talk about her. I mean, I've worked with her in 3 different jobs. I'm sure I'm gonna take her to this next company with me because that's what I do. She is amazing. Like she just could read my mind. She knew exactly what was coming up, but just being able to anticipate what my needs were and help set me up for success, whatever she wanted, good to go. Sure, the answer is yes. It's always yes. Other questions? Good, all right. So next, we're gonna move over to this life part. And I guarantee you, there's no men's leadership conference where they're talking about this. They're just not, right? Because it just gets done, right? It happens, it's because we're doing it. But the life piece is hard, and everyone's life is different. So while work is pretty discrete, you know, you need to find a job, you need to rock that job, you need to find new jobs when the time is right. The life part is really hard. And so this is all about this caregiving piece and why I was so interested to see that most of the room is currently or plans to be in some caregiving role at some point in their life. And caregiving, again, it could be defined kind of broadly. My best friend passed away 3 years ago from pancreatic cancer. Her twins are a day younger than mine. I did an awful lot of caregiving for her too, right? So even if you don't have kids or not planning to, your parents are young and healthy, there's gonna be a time in your life where you are giving of yourself and of your time to take care of other people. So this is the super hard part, I think. It's figuring out what's important to you and your family and letting the rest go. It's not what needs to look good on Instagram. It's not what your mother-in-law thinks. It's what's important to you. And so we'll talk about some trade-offs. And once you find that real core, like, are everyone's basic needs met? Are they loved? Are they clothed? Are they fed? Are they stimulated? Is there joy in our house? Once those basic needs are met, you gotta just think very selectively about what you wanna add back in. Because really the rest is noise. It really is. And once you figure that out, we gotta figure out how to share this load because it does not need to be on your shoulders alone. And so does anyone ever feel like this lady right here? Like I got like 18 arms. wait, I'm supposed to be working out while I'm working, and there's a baby that needs holding because I'm afraid I'm gonna have attachment disorder. I mean, all the things, right? And so, I think it's helpful to think through this. Like, I feel like that all the time. But thinking through what's important here, I mentioned we have boys. I'm a food-driven person. To me, it's very important for us to sit down most nights of the week together, even for 20 minutes, and to have a healthy home-cooked meal. But it might not be that for you. It may just be, I just want to sit down with my family, right? Or you might say, like, the food is our life. We're all going to be coming and going at different times in the evenings, because, I mean, who else is chauffeur from 4 to 7 p.m. every night, right? Like, you were like driving the mom in. It's crazy. So you're going to be coming and going, right? But that's okay. But the healthy food is there for when you want to come in and we'll have a chat. I pick on travel soccer all the time. And I'm a soccer player. I play in an old lady team right now in DC. I played in college. I love soccer. But travel soccer is bananas. It is bananas. There is a travel soccer club that might be selective, but they will take your money. Yes. And it doesn't matter. And if you look at the statistics on who is getting scholarships for soccer or any other sport, it's terrifying. My sons go to a public high school in our neighborhood, 3,000 students. Do you know how many students and their graduating class of 700 last year got a full ride on athletics? One. In a very large, well-funded Fairfax County Public High School, one student is playing basketball on a full ride at Central Arkansas. I mean, I don't even know what the mascot is. And I love that kid. He's going to do great things there. But I mean, we're not talking like he didn't go to Harvard on this basketball scholarship. So my point is, if your life is being dominated by travel soccer because everyone around you is doing it, and that's just the next step, just think about it. Do you want to spend $5 grand on that or put it in a 529 plan? Do you want to spend every weekend in New Jersey in tournaments and all your money? No. I mean, you could just do family bike rides. That's cool too. And the one thing where I really fall short and why I had to delete the app is Pinterest. Like, I am Amazon Prime mom. I am not Pinterest mom. I don't make homemade costumes. My house is usually a disaster. There's nothing trendy about my life, my wardrobe, or my house. I am not on trend. But that's okay. It is a joyful chaos in my house all day, every day. And that's okay. That's okay with me. And then you have to think about what your calendar looks like. And we'll talk about that really logistically. Where do you get your joy? You know, we were just talking about these neighbors of ours who have, like, the mom. This has been in their marriage for 20 years. She wants to be doing stuff every night, every weekend. That's where she gets her energy. Her husband wants to go sit in his shed, pour a bourbon, and listen to music by himself. Like, he doesn't want to talk to people. That's okay too, but you just kind of need to think about that. And if that's the case in your house and in your household and your family dynamic, find a way to strike the balance between the two of you. And so when it comes to sharing the load, and this is like the clean house is a sign of a wasted life. Like, what is the big stuff? Can we negotiate the big stuff? Pick up and drop off. Like, everybody's got to get where they need to be every day. And it's crazy to me, whether it's to a bus, a daycare, to work. You know, have these conversations where if one person is doing pickup, can someone else do drop off? Is there a way to outsource this? If daycare is right by your office, you need to do both. Can your spouse start dinner every night, even if he can't cook? Yes. The answer is yes, right? So I think we need to have some honest conversations about how we share the big things, the things that are habitual, the things that happen every day. Every day, you and the children and mom, if we're going to the senior center, need to have a way to get where they're going. The other bit is this housekeeping part, right? And I live in a frat house with all men, and it's disgusting. I mean, it is gross. For me, the most important, you same thing? Oh God, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry about the toilets. The Clorox wipes are on it every day. I'm like, do this. For me, house cleaning is the one thing that you can outsource neatly. It is very difficult to outsource reading your children's stories at night and putting them to bed. It's very difficult, even though we have a tutor, to help with homework management, because you still got to know what's going on. Like, why can't they learn the nines and the times table? I don't know why. Nines are hard. So you have to be involved in that stuff. But this, if there is room in your budget, in your life, and your family dynamic to pay for some help in housekeeping, even if it's once a quarter, this is a marriage saver, sanity saver. It's for me. There have been times when our budget has been so lean, and I would go without vacation, cable, any of these other things to just have a little support here. So I think that that's just one of those neat things you can carve out. And I was really embarrassed about this, in fact. In my family, my mom's side, I'm the first to go to college, and my grandmother was a housekeeper for a long time. And I was so embarrassed to tell my mom I was paying for housekeeping support. She's just like, sunshine, I would have done it if I could have afforded it. Do it. That's obvious, right? So don't have any shame or guilt about that. And the other thing is, again, the food. So we'll talk a little bit about the meal prep, but honestly, you have to have a meal plan for you. Even if you are a single person living alone, the way you nourish yourself is you can't just like magically expect a rotisserie chicken to come out of the oven every day. That's cool, like the Jetsons. But you have to have a plan. This is a pitch really, like, so how are you sharing the load and having honest conversations with everyone in your house about how you feed yourselves? So again, how we share this remaining load, once we've decided what's important, what we can outsource, what we can cut out, it's time to man up, kids. And I don't know why we say man up. Like, why don't we say woman up? But man up. It's time. So I don't know why it took me till the summer, but I finally had each of the boys doing their own laundry, soup to nuts. Now, in my house, we do 2 loads of laundry a day minimum. That's just, I don't know where it comes from. They're disgusting. But you know, you have gym clothes, and you got stinky boys, and so whatever. So this, I should have done that 5 years ago. I made my kids take home ec in middle school. It's not required. There was a laundry unit in 7th grade. I regret every load of laundry I did from them since 7th grade. Some other teacher taught them how to do laundry. So, because they're not gonna listen to me, right? So, time for them to do more than they can unload the dishwasher at age 6. They can set the table. They can clear the table. I mean, these are the things that they should be doing. And it's just easier to do it yourself. Look, I get it. But it's like that analyst you hired, right? You can build that financial model in 10 minutes. But if you don't teach her how to do it, you're gonna be building financial models for the rest of your life. You're never gonna get to that higher value add stuff. So take that work lesson, which you know empirically works, and to apply it at home. And then chore charts, sticker charts, like, does that work for anyone? Because it always felt like such a burden, so much more work for me, like in allowances. No, it just didn't work. I tried every variation. I went on Pinterest, downloaded all these, it just didn't work. So we just have some basic rules, right? To live in this house and be part of this family, you gotta do these 3 things. Before the housekeeper comes, you need to pick up your room. If I see it on the floor for more than a day, it goes in my basket, and you have to earn it back with either chores or foot rubs, both of which I value. Right? You need to clear your own dishes. You need to bring your own laundry down. So just basic, whatever that's important to you, just basic rules. These are not allowance, these are not jobs. This is just as part of being in this house, what we need to do. And then, you know, I'm a management consultant by trade, so of course I'm trying to process engineer everything in my house. I just simplify. I was spending all this time, like we're still really bad at folding the fitted sheets. You know, I've looked at the videos. I think my arms are too short, I can't do it. So I'm trying to match up these pillowcases to which set, and I'm like, I can't tell, is this a double or a full? I don't know. And that's energy up here that does not need to be spent on linens. Got rid of them all, went on Amazon Basics, got some basic jersey, white sheets, white towels, everything gets bleached, because again, boys, just everything gets bleached, and it goes in. I don't have to worry about that. There's a set of sheets, a set of towels. So if you can think about your life, where are you spending mental energy on the day-to-day stuff and get rid of it, do it. And then minimize. So like, I hate the seasonal clean out of the wardrobes, but these kids grow so fast. Right? And there's stuff, they can't put away their own laundry because they're stuffed drawers. So we just got rid of it. If you're not wearing it, I just went in and took it out. They didn't miss those 500 t-shirts. I don't know why we had to have a t-shirt for every event, race, sport, club. No, like I just got rid of them. So when there's 5 t-shirts in there, there's less laundry. They can put it themselves away. I mean, it's so simple, but just think about that. How do you minimize? And then incentivize. I'm not terribly good at this. I did make a distinction between basic rules, and if you want cash to take a girl out to the movies, you're gonna have to do an extra job for me. Mow the lawn. My 12-year-old loves doing the windows. It's the strangest thing, but we bought a $16 squeegee on Amazon, and it's like, it's the tool. I don't know why he loves doing windows, but now he like gets gigs in the neighborhood, he goes around, people are paying him $2 a window. He loves the windows, so okay, fine. You wanna do this? So give your kid a squeegee for Christmas and see what happens. But I borrowed from a friend of mine who has 4 kids, and she's a really interesting lady. Her kids were kvetching, they just didn't have enough money, and then she was looking around like, you lazy sons of guns, like you're not doing anything around here. So she canceled her housekeeping service and said, that money, that goes in the kitty. If you wanna go out to dinner, you wanna go to King's Dominion, all these things, that's our fun fund. But then you four must decide how you equitably do these 10 jobs. And the one boy, he can't slack off and make his sisters do this, right? So she basically said, work as a team, figure out how you're gonna do it, how you rotate it so not everyone's doing toilet duty every week, and work it out yourself. So again, it's so highly individual, but I'm learning from all these people who found little solutions in their life to make this work. The mental load, that's what's up here. This is the stuff I think that really separates most moms from dads, women from men. We have all of the knowledge up here, and I'm trying to find a way to download it, right? How do I offload and share the mental load of managing the social calendar, of who's memorized whose social security numbers, right? How do you get that out of your head so you can focus on things that really matter to you? Read books, do that high-level thought work at work. So these are like so basic and tactical, I'm embarrassed to even put them on here, but I'm sure I'm gonna see some head nodding. Contact information. Who gets called anytime there's a sick child, a problem, school principal? Do they call dad first? No. I don't know why. It's so crazy. So I had a situation, right, where I think it's easier if you can offload an entire job to someone, right? Not like just run into the pediatrician. Sports physicals. I don't know why the sports physicals in high schools is a 5-step process, but it is. My ADHD sons with executive functioning limitations cannot manage it themselves. They need a little support. Okay, that's fine, they're kids. It requires dropping off a form in advance to the pediatrician, making an appointment. It has to be a year since the last wellness check to be covered by your insurance, but also within a time period that you can get your yellow card eligibility form. Am I right? People are nodding their heads, right? It's a complicated process. I said, Ben, you're off on Monday. Can you please just do this? Yes, you did all the things. Dropped the form off, called, made an appointment, took them to set appointment, but there was a problem, there was a question on it. And they called me. And I said, now, Nurse Sheila, I'm happy to help, but why did you call me? She said, well, first of all, honey, your name's on the contact information first, so I called the first number. And I always call the moms, the dads don't know this. And I said, Nurse Sheila, you need to call the dads. So, give me his number right now. Ben, he was there yesterday. We saw him. We've seen him regularly for 17 years. So, and she said, I have a job to do. I'm busy, and the moms make my job easier. And I said, I hear you, but it's time for the dads. So, maybe just leave your name off the contact information. Flip the order, try it, see if this works. See if this works. I think this is fascinating social experiment. Forms. I don't know why there are still so many forms in our lives, but there are forms every single day. This is something that I realize it's just faster for me to give me all this. I'm emptying that homework folder, give me all the forms. Federal financial aid, impact, permission slips, all the forms. There's a million forms. We drill into our kids address, phone number, all those things in preschool. We don't make them do the next step. Then it's all to us, and then somehow we're supposed to send them off into the real world of adulthood and knowing what their medical history is, their socials. I'll skip the next bullet point and go to that. Social security number. So right before I took my sabbatical this summer, which I'll tell you a little more about in a minute, I had a moment I am not proud of. I was leading a very, very big project. I was doing right before I went on sabbatical with the CIO of the Department of Agriculture on basically a program review of every project we were working on. I was standing up there, I had all the big wigs in the room, and a day that my sons were going to interview for their summer jobs were texting me constantly, Mom, where's my social security card? Mom, what's my social security number? And I wigged out. I'm like, I cannot be the keeper of all of this information. I know your social, because I memorized it, but you need to know it. But and Josh very calmly, my relaxed twin said, you know, Mom, I've only had one other job. That's the only time I've ever had to write that down. He never taught it to me. Well, he was right. He was right. So scan those key documents and put them in a place that you're comfortable with from a security perspective. I use the secure part of Dropbox. I think it's helpful. If they need to know their birth, a copy of their birth certificate, their social security numbers, medical charts, Put it all there. There's no reason that you should be the keeper of this. Shouldn't. The group text, let's go back there. Here's one truth. You're gonna be late to daycare pickup. You're also gonna be late to the bus stop. Don't sit in traffic trying to text people, right? Have a quick group text and say, I'm 10 minutes late, can someone grab Ellie? That's all you need to do, okay? So set this up at the beginning. This is also a great way for you to meet other parents at the daycare, other moms and dads at the bus stop. Just say, hey, just in case, traffic and life, can I just get your digits? And that way you learn their name, their contact information. And then you're surprised when you build this. Does anyone here have teenagers? Yeah. You need to know the parents. This is where all of the information comes from. I am on a group text that's called Knucklehead Boys Moms. Because there's this group of 6 foot and taller string beans that my boys run with, and they're all knuckleheads, and they all get in all kinds of trouble, and we're sharing so much information. But when they're in elementary school, you know all the parents. You're hanging out at the playground together. You're going to non-drop-off birthday parties together. In middle school, it's like the vast unknown, and that's when you need the intelligence. So this is, start with a group text. It's easy to say, hey, we're at the bus stop together. You're not going to get your digits. Super easy. And then lastly, the shared family calendar. I've tried every iteration of the family calendar, and there's a lot of really cool apps like Cozy is the one a lot of people use. I just think the Google Calendar works. It is simple. Everyone can have their own calendar. You can filter it. You can share. You can invite. My 12-year-old said, where's my Google Calendar this year? And I'm like, why? I don't know. Why didn't I set him up with one yet? He should know when his doctor's appointments are, where his soccer games are. That should all be there. So at a young age, get them on this, right? If you need to print it out to have the family meeting on Sunday night about what's happening this week, cool. You can take that to the fridge. Everyone's on a device. It works well with your work calendars. You can bring your Outlook calendar even into your Google Calendar if you want. This is the way to go. Are there any life tips that resonated with you? Or any questions about my approach? Yes.
What if it's just you?
I cannot even. In my book, I wrote an entire chapter about this. We'll get to that last bullet point. It's about building your village.
Okay.
Single parents, I have no idea how you do this. But that building your village part, and we'll get to it, is so much more important for you. It is not easy. You have to be more organized. You have to be more streamlined, more intentional with what you do with what limited time you have. And you have to be better at letting it go. When you're trying to be more than, you're trying to be 2 of. But there's only one of you. There's only so many hours a day. That's one equalizer, right? We've all got 24 hours. How do you want to spend it, right? So let's come back to that. Any good life tips that you want to share? Something that you figured out that you're like, I don't have it all figured out, but I got that. Yes.
No matter how hard you work, have fun.
That's right.
So always spend time for you.
Always.
Find time for you.
Well, that is an incredible segue. Literally, the U ring is coming up. And I think this is the hardest for us, right? We are natural caregivers. We're we feel very strongly about the work that we do, the people we take care of in our lives. We put us last all the time. And you can have the very overused oxygen mask. Let's put yours on first before you can help anyone else. You know that. You've been told that your whole life. But trying to actually make time for this is the real hard part. And I'll tell you, I mentioned this about my sabbatical. So the last 6 years, I've been in a really intense role as the Chief of Corporate Development at a data analytics firm in Washington, D.C. And Washington's a pretty intense place to live just in general. The last few years in D.C. have been real intense. My job has been crazy intense. We do mostly federal consulting work, and the kind of work we do, affordable housing, pay equity. This is not an administration that buys those kinds of services, frankly. They didn't care about the kind of work that we did. So it was a tough year at work. And I was faced with a situation where my entire team was about to be laid off because we had missed all of our revenue numbers. And I couldn't stomach that. So I took about a little over a year ago, a long shot proposal. I worked through my only weekend away with my husband for the summer, when all the kids were at camps, that magical weekend, and I just wrote this proposal. Go to oral interviews, and at 9 p.m. on September 30th, literally 3 hours before the end of the fiscal year expired, we won this crazy long shot contract. but that meant everyone kept their jobs. But it meant I had to change jobs entirely and go lead a different effort. So I had a corporate job, I had to go back to doing on-site consulting delivery. It's not what I wanted to do, it's work I'd done 15 years before. It felt like a giant step back. Felt good about not firing anyone, but that was pretty much it. I cried every day going to work. I stood on the metro platform like, this is it. I'm literally going to this job again today. I hate this job. It was a lot. And then at home, it's chaos, right? I have 3 boys that need a lot more support than I thought they would need, particularly my teenagers. They have ADHD, they need help every night. I can work 10 or 12 hour day, 2-hour commute, round trip, and then go home and do chemistry homework. I mean, my brain hurt. And I would fall into bed at 10 p.m. and at 4:40 a.m. my alarm would go off again every day. I was heading towards burnout. And so burnout is a thing that I think is a lot more common in discussions now. I think we're stronger about the kind of mental health conversations that we have. I didn't quite get there, but I was teetering on the edge. I could see it. And so I had a conversation with my boss, and I said, I really want to write this book. I want to hit the professional reset button and rebuild my network. I want to take a sabbatical. So I did this, and it was some of the most incredible time of my life. I never took maternity leaves. I had my twins when I was in business school at Georgetown. They were born 6 weeks early and 6 weeks before exams. When my youngest son was born, I was running my own company. There is no maternity leave when you're working for yourself. You literally take a month off, you might not make a mortgage payment, right? So I had worked through this time, and I felt like, you know what? This is actually a really cool time to take a break. Like, they're fairly self-sufficient. And I learned a lot about myself and about life. And what I learned is, it comes down to these 3 things. It's that simple. It's exercise, it's managing your stress, it's about building that village. So exercise. Everyone here needs to do it. I don't care what it looks like, how it looks like, you have to do this every single day. And it's not because we need to look good in a bikini shot on Instagram, like all those girls that send pictures to my kids, you know. It's about managing your stress, finding the energy to do what you need to do for those 18 hours every day that you're awake. So this is my crew here. This is us most Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 5 a.m. We don't do anything expensive, complicated, or whatever. We go for a run. Sometimes we just walk. Sometimes we're like downloading like things on social media, like here's this 20-minute workout, and we'll just do it together. But those are my people. It's also my only social time. Really, it's sad that that's at 5 a.m., but like this is my regular time with my girlfriends, including today. And I think it's important to remember why you're doing it, right? So when you want to, I'm a big advocate for the morning workout. There is just too much that will come up if you're trying to squeeze in a lunchtime workout at the office or at the end of the day. Like your time is just committed elsewhere. But that, before your kids are up, before work starts, to me, this is the most, you can guarantee this will get done. Now, my husband is brilliant at this. He worked it into his commute. He's a bike commuter. So you gotta get to work every day, take an hour on metro or an hour on a bicycle. So if you have that walk or bike in your wheelhouse, or that's an opportunity after this session, you can talk to that guy who will tell you how to do it. He's really, really good at it. But you have to find your people. The accountability piece is what I need, right? And so I have another friend who runs races with us, but she runs near us with headphones on. She doesn't want to talk the whole time. And with my girls, we're like, oh my God, and then what do you have going on today? And then you won't believe what Johnny did last night. You know, it's just rants and chatting. But to me, that's how I get my exercise done. It's my social hour. I cannot say no to these women. They're gonna be outside my house at 5 a.m. in the cold, in the dark. And the other thing here is just don't get derailed by logistics. To a T, every one of us gave up our gym memberships. We just weren't going. It's hard. It's a whole other thing. If I have a free Sunday afternoon, there's nothing I love more than going to a yoga class in a studio with a real teacher, right? Learning from a Pilates instructor on good form. But that is so not happening in my everyday. The forethought to register and reserve a class and pay $28 and then the half hour to get there and then the 15 minutes after, I mean, it just doesn't happen. So if I can, I do. That's my treat to myself, but it's not. So here's my pro tips on exercise. I have a tiny home gym, and when I say tiny, it fits on this table. Right now on Amazon Prime, you could order 8-pound weights, 5-pound weights, and have it delivered tomorrow. I know, that's I get my 10s that way. A yoga mat, 1 kettlebell, some exercise bands that fit in a little pouch this big. That's literally all you need. Give up the gym, have it in your house, and there's no excuse at all. I also am a big fan of this walking meetings. Now, I had one guy on my team, Jamal, he hated this. He sweated the whole time. He did not want to do this. So it may not be down for everybody, but if people want to meet with you, you have young women who want to be mentored, and they're like, I really need 30 minutes. And I'm like, I really don't have that, but I so want to do this. Meet me at 12 o'clock, let's walk around the block for 30 minutes. So this necessitates you keeping gym shoes in your desk drawer, and I think you should. But just propose it. Not everyone's going to be into it, but if you just need to have a catch-up meeting, make this just part of who you are. I also have been known to do office workouts. If you are blessed with an office door that closes, and I have not been in that lucky position for a long time, I'm so excited to get back to it in my new job. You're on a conference call, why those need to go 2 or 3 hours, I don't know. You can do push-ups against the wall. And what I'm wearing right now. You can lunge, you can squat, leg lifts, just do something, move your body. You don't need to sit there on a conference call. If it looks weird, whatever, I don't care, right? Like we're all old enough and confident enough in who we are that we don't need to worry about that. I also think this is like the most overlooked thing, is working out during your kids' activities. Because I saw your hands raised for who's running around from 4 to 8 p.m. every night driving the mom van. If you're gonna go to soccer practice, put on your gym shoes and walk around the field. Listen to a podcast, an audiobook. I love the audiobooks. If you're going to piano lessons downtown, keep gym shoes in your car. Park the car, put your trainers on, walk around a different neighborhood. Again, call your mom, catch up, your best friend. Like, use that time for you, right? Don't sit in your car scrolling on a work email. It will be there, I promise. This year, this is me in my Chicago trip last month, doing my yoga in my hotel room. So I actually kind of like a little bit of work travel. Like, not a lot, once a quarter, that's great for me. And when I do, I try and get a reservation at a good new yoga studio. Soul Cycle, something that's a treat to me. Skip the networking reception if it doesn't matter to you, right? And go do something that's for you. Does the hotel have a pool? Great, get a swim workout at it. Something you would never do. But this often, when you're on work travel, is the only time where you're in charge of only you, right? You control sun up to sundown. And there is so much, I'm so late to this, so much free online content. Has anyone ever looked at yoga videos on Amazon Prime Video? Yeah. HIIT workouts on Hulu? YouTube? These are my 2 favorite. Yoga with Adrienne, that's what I'm doing right there. Adrienne is this hilarious lady in Austin, Texas. I even make my husband do these sometimes. 15, 20-minute videos with her dog Benji. I feel like I know her. She's on like free YouTube. Go like, you can't get to a yoga class, you can do 20 minutes in the morning. That's what I did today. HasFit is this Midwestern married couple. They're middle-aged, Coach K, and he's in there. I mean, I got the Coach K-isms in my head. He's talking about just body weight exercises, 20 minutes. This is like so small, but you can do it. There's no reason for the no, right? There are all of these resources for you. It doesn't have to be going to a gym. But I had this thing, I ran a half marathon a year and a half ago, and I came back and my heart rate was really high. Whereas most of my friends would point out, I started wearing a Garmin and tracking my heart rate, and then I noticed, holy crap, my heart rate is really high. So I went to a cardiologist, and I'm talking to her, and she said, you're in great shape. You've got good fitness levels, eat well. The stress is going to kill you. And she said, what do you do for fun? I'm like, well, I'm writing a book. She's like, that sounds like work. What do you do for fun? Do you dance? Do you draw? Do you do artwork? And I'm like, that sounds terrible. I don't want to do any of that. She's like, you have to find the way to manage the stress. And I needed to hear this from a cardiologist after I got a good stress test that said, this stress is going to kill you. It's going to take years off your life, and then it will kill you. So this is really what I learned from my sabbatical, where instantly, a month into it, I got a physical. Blood pressure's down, cholesterol is down, sleeping 7-8 hours a night. It's just about managing the stress. Went back to work, immediately all went away. So I have to work on this daily. This is a struggle for me. Move the body, calm the mind. This is why the exercise is so important. I'm a big fan. I've become like an old lady this way, a 30-minute walk every day. It's not about fitness. It's about just clearing your head. It's moving that body. 30 minutes every single day, no matter what else you do. 30 minutes. Step count, whatever. Where's your 30-minute walk? Prioritize sleep. The statistics on the number of women taking sleep aids is off the charts. Whether it's melatonin, something stronger, and I've all been there, I've taken them, right? it's something like 2/3 of women have at some point in the last 10 years taken a sleep aid. And that's really kind of scary. We have to prioritize our sleep. It is the recharge for our bodies, for our minds, for our souls. I need a lot of sleep. I always have. But one thing I didn't kind of anticipate about older kids, like I was so proud of myself, like I had this all figured out. My kids went to bed at 6:30, 7 p.m. I could work in the evenings, I could work out, I could watch TV. I stopped watching TV for like 5 years. And it wasn't because I didn't like TV or had sort of philosophical objection to it. It's just, I went from work to homework to housework to crash. And then I wake up at 3 a.m. wide awake. Sweating, thoughts, prioritize sleep. So you need to do what you need to do in your family to make that happen. So I had to have a family meeting, and I think I was so psychotic, my kids even heard me. Teenagers, no banging around at midnight when you go to bed. You have to figure out, I can't wait up for you to go to bed. You have to do this yourself. Mom's going to bed at 9:30. Calm music, no screens. Diffuser with the lavender, all the things, do all the things you can to prioritize your sleep. And your surroundings. If what you're surrounded yourself with is not working, you need to change it. And again, that's so basic. Put on happy music, calm music. Listen to an audiobook. Put on the diffuser with the orange for energy, whatever it is. Change your surroundings. Something needs to switch. If you switch your surroundings, switch your mind. It may just mean working in a different part of your office. Can you go into the break room for a little while? Can you go outside? Can you stand in the window? I don't have a standing desk, but I would take my laptop and stand in the windowsill and just look over at Georgetown Law. Like at least there were some trees out there. That kind of visual cue is super helpful. I think gratitude. All of the research suggests this, right? To have fun, be thankful. I am terrible about keeping an Oprah-style gratitude journal. I've tried 6 ways a Sunday, and I can't do it. I have no commitment to journaling. But what I can do at night is lay there, and I can think to myself, dry roof, healthy children, full belly. If you can just say those things to yourself in the morning when you're like, oh my God, this day is going to suck, you can say, gainfully employed, respected at work, confident in my abilities. Just keep saying those things. And that kind of positive mental self-talk is incredibly powerful. And it sounds really woo-woo. I know it does. But it's really very helpful. And then I started a regular meditation practice. Meditation is hard. It is not, it should be just like, let me just chill out. No. Headspace, I did Andy from Headspace. Is anyone on Headspace at all? Andy with his accent,
Yeah.
I know. It's like you know him, right?
Yeah.
He is in your head.
Yeah.
Then I did all of them, and I'm like, okay, I need a new voice. So I went to Calm. Now, that's Tamara Levitt, again. But Calm also has sleep stories. I don't know if you've heard of these. They're great for your kids. I use them every night. So I don't know what the sleep story is about. I fall asleep 2 or 3 minutes into it. But again, the apps. Use an app. Use the technology for good, right? I sometimes do the Headspace. They have a walking app that you can do. So if you're trying to get that 30-minute walk in, a meditative walk, just like how you get intentional with putting your foot on the ground. I would do it on Metro. Sometimes I would go into the wellness room in my office, middle of the day, if I'm about to lose it, and do that for 10 minutes. These are all good things to just sort of work this in here. And then you feel so good when you get like all the stars in a row, like I've meditated for 111 days in a row, check me out. Share that with your friends, that's good. But this is it. This is the village piece we talked about. We live in the most disconnected society ever. All-time low. And then again, check out the statistics on mental health. Did anyone see that stat that came out of teenagers and suicide rates? Up 40% over the last 10 years? I mean, that is a public health crisis. Sleep pills, anxiety diagnoses. We're off the chart. Our social media lives have meant that we are less connected in person. And that's just the reality. We feel like we're connected because I saw what your kid dressed up as Halloween last night, scrolling through my Facebook this morning, but I didn't see that person in the last 2 years. So how do we get that back? Because the highs and the lows, they're meant to be shared. You're not meant to do this alone. And so I think you want to think about what your village looks like, and don't define it too narrowly. I got these squad moms in my neighborhood, but I also have all these other friends in my life that don't have children, that are older, that are younger, that bring something to my support system. And I feel like I have let a lot of that go. It's just so busy, right? We're all so busy. But this is the key here, and particularly if it's just you, particularly. This is that village, and you have to be really intentional about how you build it. And so has anyone heard this book called The Turquoise Table by Kristen Schell? I was fascinated by this. So this woman wrote this book called The Turquoise Table. I highly recommend checking it out. She's got a website. She moved to a new area. She had some young kids, and she was working, and she's like, I know nobody. When am I supposed to make a friend? Like, I work, I commute, I make dinner, put my kids to bed. Like, where are the friends happening? So she dragged this turquoise table that she found at a flea market to her front yard and literally just sat out there. Like a weird freak show neighbor, just started saying hello to people. And she started inviting them to their table. And then she started hosting pumpkin carving parties. And then it kind of grew from there. And so we just got away from the front stoop, from the front porch. We're all in our subdivisions with long driveways, behind doors, with screens. And so I think the real key is to get out from behind the screens and into the world. And you gotta put yourself out there a little bit. And again, don't be embarrassed to ask the name, right? And I think that that's really powerful because I've seen Bob walk his dog for 2 years. And I say, hey, and I know the dog's name. What's up, Fritz? But I didn't know Bob's name, right? So you can say that. Just put yourself out there and say, I know you. What's your name again? Like, I'm terrible with names. And then you could say, hey, Bob, do you mind if I get your phone number? I know you're walking the dog 3 times a day, and our house is empty most of the day. I would just love to have an extra set of eyes on the house. You know, Bob's going to text you when he sees your teenagers skipping school and coming home for lunch. Thank you, Bob. I need you, Bob. We just got a text. I was on a conference call, working from home, luckily, and I saw the long-haired twin is walking to Five Guys right now. And I said, okay, thank you. Got my car, still on the conference call, Bluetooth, thank you very much. Hit pause, and I said, get in the car. And I dragged that kid myself into the principal's office. Begged the principal to give him detention. True story, that freshman, the administrator's like, but you brought him back, and you know, I can't, I'm like, yeah, please, I'm asking you. He needs consequence here. Block party. So this sounds like a big thing, whether it's like our neighbor last night does a front yard party before trick-or-treating, another one does a pumpkin carving, whatever it is, there's a caroling party, just make something. Make it outside so you don't even need to clean your house. You know, just a gathering. People want some of these things. People are craving this connection. We started this thing when we moved into our neighborhood, doing a 4th of July parade, because we had these babies, and it became this annual tradition, and people who didn't even know each other, who lived on the same street for 10 or more years, had not met. But I think people are just craving this idea. Plan something that's super easy, that you're interested in, and then the cleanup is easy, and just make it happen. But it's a little bit about the social capital here. And just like strong marriages don't keep score, you can't keep score here either, in your village. But you're gonna need the village. And so here are a couple of ways that you can kind of proactively build that social capital. If you're making a meatloaf, make 2. Someone's husband had an MRI for his cancer treatment. They could use that meatloaf, you know? If you're gonna make a lasagna, make 2. Put it in someone's freezer for that day that they can't get dinner on the table. And just storing up. My husband does this thing called, his name is Ben, Benchalada night. And it's like this surprise when he decides to make 100 enchiladas. We did that Sunday. We made 100 enchiladas and just delivered them to our neighbors. And go to Costco and get those aluminum trays. Just keep them in your pantry, right? This is just this nice random thing you can do. If you're gonna make some food, like in my mind, how we heal and how we connect people is always over food, right? It's the thing we all need. And so if you can surprise your neighbors with enchilada night, do it. Sick days. If you happen to be working from home and I'm out on a run with my ladies at 5 a.m. and they're like, oh, I don't know what to do. Tommy was up barfing all night. I'm like, well, you know what? That barfing kid can go lay on my couch. I don't want to touch anything else. But he can lay on my couch. I'm working from home today. You go get your shift at the hospital. You know, I got this. Or if you're like, you know what? I don't have a lot going on today. I'm just going to take the snow day. The kids are home. There's like a ½ inch of snow on the streets, but whatever. I'll work from home. Y'all send your kids over here, right? We'll make popcorn, we'll order pizzas. It's all good. It's all good. The sign-ups and pickups. Like if you know someone else is doing the exact same thing you're doing, summer camp that you have to line up for, CCD enrollment, whatever it is, just say, hey, I got it. You get the next one. And just thinking about how we're all kind of just doing the same thing, let me tell you, I'm gonna really blow your minds what we did for meals For 4 years, our family and 3 other families did something called bus stop meal swap. Because again, I'm a process improvement person, so I'm like, why are we all trying to get dinner on the table for all these kids while we're driving them to dance, soccer, and piano? So we started this thing, and it went for 4 whole years, which is a miracle. Each family cooked for all 4 families 1 night a week during the week. So I picked the day that I work from home, and if I was gonna make a meatloaf, I made 4. It's really not that hard, but that was the only weeknight I cooked. Otherwise, someone handed me dinner at 2 o'clock or 4 o'clock on the bus. So it worked really well. So even if you find one person you can do that with, look, I know Monday is your hell night of driving, Tuesday is mine. Let's just double up our meals and let's swap. Just try it. I mean, if it works once and you're like, man, this is cool, see if it can grow. It worked very well until, dietary preferences and schedules changed. But for 4 years, I had this connection to 3 other families. I knew what they liked. We had the hilarious, some kind of weird casserole thing, Portuguese stew that was like the only one-hit disaster of a meal. But everything else, people really loved. So again, this is where I think most of us are falling short. It's how we sustain ourselves, our families. And the village, for me, I think, when the kids were younger, it was easy to talk about things like, oh, he just will not sleep through the night. I can't put weight on this baby, what do I do? Can't get him potty trained in order to get into pre-K in the fall. How do you do that? Do you know where the real hard stuff is? Middle school and high school. Yes. And it's really kind of hard and embarrassing to talk about. You don't want to put that on Facebook, right? Who do you talk to about this? Oh my God, these 2 can't even set an alarm and get up in the morning. How are they ever going to go to college? Where's a mom who's figured this out? Where is a dad who's had that conversation, right? So this is the village building that has been so critically important to me. Okay, I think I see evidence of drooling in the backpack. Anyone else seeing this? How do we have these conversations with these boys about how dangerous vaping is? Those are the really hard kinds of conversations that we need to have. And so the big takeaways here is that we are all going to work for a very long time. That's just the reality. The most, biggest necessary expenses for housing and healthcare, they continue to rise at an astronomical rate. And if you're putting your kids through college, that's also rising about 15% a year over the last 10 years. So we're gonna work a real long time. And as it turns out, we're gonna parent forever. We're gonna caregive forever. I'm not gonna be done with this job. There's no 18 and see you kids. So what you need is a framework. This is not about a solution for where you are today. It's a framework for how you think about constant set of trade-offs, day in, day out. How you take care of you so you can take care of others. To play this long, long game. And the thing is, what's working today, it's probably not gonna work tomorrow. For me, big shock was summers, with school-age children. I was like, what do you mean? A series of camps? I'm gonna spend $6,000 in camps this summer? This is insane. In a spreadsheet, and they all have different pickups and drop-offs and times. And why does a camp end at 3 o'clock? This doesn't make sense. So, right, all these things were just, again, surprises to me. But what I want you to have is the confidence for you to do what's right for you. I have a set of in-laws with very strong opinions on what I should and should not be doing. And it took me a long time to have the confidence to say, we're not doing that. Yes, I am going to work and outsource my children to a nanny. Yeah, that's what's gonna happen, right? It takes a long time because we're not really confident in our abilities to do all of the things, but we shouldn't be doing all the things, right? You know what you need to do for you. You know what your family needs, your parents, your friends. You know what you need. And I want you to feel confident as you walk out of here today, knowing that you can do what's right for you. And so I want to keep this conversation going. The book comes out January 7th. I hope that you will all check it out on jenniferfolsom.net. I want you to follow me on social media. I want you to share what's working with you with #Ringmaster. If you find one little solution, like I have the answer for where to keep all of the summer camp paperwork in place, please share that with me because I don't have it yet. Lots and lots of ways to connect with me. And I want you to connect with each other, right? Because again, already from this experience today, this morning, we are already one village. We are one village here today. So let's keep that conversation going. And thank you for having me today. Thank you. And I think we have time for about 5 minutes, right? If have any questions? All right, I will mill about here. If there's anything you want to talk about one-on-one, or again, if you're interested in learning how the bike to work, there's a guy in the back who can help you.